Hello YouTube! This is my first video of this kind, and today we would learn about types of financial risks, which backers should evaluate while doing a risk assessment considering to give loan to a potential buyer on the Goldfinch platform. This is a common knowledge came from academical financial education, so it could be applied outside the needs of the platform. There are three main types of financial risks: macro risk, currency risk, and regulatory risk. The main and most important is macro risk, because it impacts all classes of financial assets in regions or country, and therefore impacts all the businesses working there. Macro risk is being divided to political factors and macroeconomic factors. In case of Goldfinch, there are situations where backer can suffer losses because borrower cannot do business in this country that way as he expected to do, and can't be unable to return the loan. From these political factors, we can differ change of government, legislative bodies, or other parties determining foreign policy or military control. For example, after the Russian October Revolution in 1917, new communist government decided to declare all the private companies property of the people, by actually a property of a new government. This also applied to branches of foreign companies that existed in the territory of Imperial Russia. The borders were closed and investors and company owners suffered major losses. To evaluate macroeconomic factors, Goldfinch bankers examine economic parameters such as gross domestic product or GDP, population and employment rate, price level and purchasing power of the local currency, economic growth rate and national income. Backers should carefully find reasons for all the oddities they find, for example, reasons for low employment rate or costs on inflation. Backers should analyze all these factors to have a picture: does this country have prerequisition for economic growth or it's on the way to decline. The next risk that must be taken into account is foreign exchange risk or currency risk. Both sides of international contracts can suffer from volatility of national currency pairs. The first type of FX risk is transaction risk, which arises when company engages in financial transactions denominated in a currency other than the currency where the company is based. Any appreciation, depreciation of the base currency or the depreciation, appreciation of the denominated currency will affect the cash flows emanating from that transaction. In our case, Goldfinch issues loans in USDC, which is a stable coin with a price tethered to American dollar. For example, borrower takes a loan equals 1 million USDC from Goldfinch and then exchange it to local currency, for example Indian rupee, while rate was 65 rupees per dollar, having 65 million rupees on hands. If rupees rate falls $2 to 75 rupees per dollar, borrower would have to return 75 million rupees excluding interest. The second type of currency risk is translation risk. A parent company owning a subsidiary in another country could face losses when the subsidiary's financial statements, which will be denominated in that country's currency, have to be translated back to the parent company's currency. The third type of FX risk is economic risk, also called forecast risk, refers to when company's market value is continuously impacted by an unavoidable exposure to currency fluctuations. Regulatory risk is the risk that a change in laws and regulation will materially impact a security, business, sector or market. A change in laws or regulations made by government or a regulatory body can increase the cost of operating a business, reduce the attractiveness of an investment, or change the competitive landscape in a given business sector. In extreme cases, such changes can destroy a company's business model. Potential fines and penalties that may be imposed are subject of regulatory risk. For the real-world examples, there is a very relative to American ICO ban and situation with Binance, who has to register a separate company to work in the United States, decrease leverage and disable some of its features, leading to less income and more unforeseen expenses. Even more relative is China's cryptocurrency ban, which forced miners to leave China and move their equipment to Kazakhstan. I hope my video was helpful to you, so subscribe to my channel and reward my video with your like. Goodbye.